Hello everyone! Player versus player. What can be more exciting than this? War in New World is when players want to overthrow your territory for their faction, but they will have to work harder than enemies to achieve that. As to start a war, players will need to undermine enemy faction by doing special PvP missions, and those can be done only with PvP flag on. Players can flag for PvP or remove this flag at any sanctuary, which is basically any player-owned settlement. Any player-owned settlement from any faction. I like the idea that you can't just flag for PvP or remove that flag by yourself anytime anywhere. However, I'm not a big fan of allowing to do this at any settlement. I would prefer the design where players can turn PvP flag on at any settlement, but removing that flag would only be possible at a settlement owned by your faction. So if you turn your PvP flag on deep inside enemy territory, then you will be flagged for PvP all the way back till you reach your faction's settlement or die. That makes way more sense to me than what is planned now. But what matters most to me here is what kind of PvP missions we will have, and specifically how many different game mechanics will be involved. Doing only fetch and patrol missions will get boring very fast. And the second question is even more important: will all the missions be generic, static, repeatable and farmable shit? Or will PvP missions dynamically involve enemy players by generating counter missions and timed events for other factions? So most of these missions will actually end up in fun PvP fights. Unpredictable fights. Players will never know how many enemy players might be sent after you. And even if locations will be more or less same, all encounters will feel different. And what I mean by dynamic mission system is, imagine that you as a Marauder player accept a mission to patrol a specific area deep inside Covenant territory for, let's say, 20 minutes. Now you are flagged for PvP, which by the way can't be removed without failing the mission. But at the same time, Covenant mission boards also will generate missions to the very same area and to the very same patrol checkpoints. Now anyone on Covenant's side can accept the mission and they will know that there are enemies patrolling somewhere. And what this will do is send all currently online PvP players to the same place and smash their heads together. That can be done with every single mission. In example, a Marauder accepts, search and recover 3 battle plans in Covenant's space. But when this player recovers, let's say, first battle plan, then enemy mission board instantly generates a kill spy mission. And that will mark this Marauder player on the map for all Covenant players who accepted this mission, and the hunt is on. It all can even be tied to territory influence. In example, while Covenant influence is very high in this territory, then this mission will be generated when Marauder player gets his first battle plan. But with Covenant's influence dropping there, below specific percentage, this mission would spawn only after second plan is captured, and with influence dropping even more, then it's generated after enemy spy already has all 3 battle plans and only has to get back safely to complete his mission. Obviously, developers would have to adjust influence values for different missions, maybe have some default amount of rewards, and then for every enemy killed during the mission add extra influence. With that, players who want to PvP would always have small wars going on, and undermining enemy wouldn't feel like a grind. Plus, generating missions on Syndicate player mission boards as special PvP intel missions, in example, would add a third party to the mix and create even bigger mess in those mission locations. I really hope that Amazon will do something like this, otherwise players will run in circles doing same boring mission all day long and after some time just leave the game and never look back. But maybe Amazon wants to push traditional MMO boundaries and make a fun game, where all PvP players will finally have a clear goal. Back to war. Let's pretend that Marauders lowered Covenant's influence and put a territory into a conflict state. It's time to declare war. First, it's expensive. On this screenshot we can see that there is a time frame when war can be declared. That will cost your company 150,000 gold, and multiple companies can declare war. In which case there is a lottery to decide which company will lead the charge in battle. So if there are more companies signed up to participate in this war, attackers will never ever know which company will be chosen, as it's completely random. Only reason to have this random lottery is to make harder for one company to dominate the Aeternum. But this is not the best way, as already there are guilds with hundreds of players. They will easily form 5 to 10 companies and always will have the best chance to be picked as attacking company anyway. And thus one guild still will be in control of most, if not all, territories. It will just cost them extra. I would go different way. Limit total dominance by utilizing PvE invasion system. We have two variables here to play with: total faction power and total company power that owns particular settlement. So more territories a faction has, stronger waves of corrupted they will have to deal with. And the more settlements the defending company owns, the more powerful enemies will be spawned during invasion. This way, at some point, a company with too many settlements under their control will not be able to repel any invasion, and their settlements will level down, becoming easier targets for PvP wars. Also, this would bring epic fights to players who are capable and much stronger than average players. Imagine hundreds of Spriggans attacking your settlement. That would be glorious and insane. Plus, this way the factions that almost lost all already and only control one last settlement wouldn't be harassed by invasions at all, will have enough time to get back on their feet, level up their settlement, start wars with other factions and jump back into arms race, and basically would have a fighting chance. So in my opinion, this planned design is not the best one, but it can work out quite well, and there are several ifs. First if: price of war. If properly balanced and set correctly, in example tied to settlement's upkeep cost. So declaring a war on high level settlement will be much more expensive compared to low level one, thus removing cheap companies out of this random lottery. Then only serious companies who want to take over that territory will sign up for wars, otherwise they lose a lot of money. And second if: I hope that there will be minimum level requirements to join wars, as we have level requirements to join a faction or buy a house, which would deny low-level player-owned companies participation in war, even if they somehow accumulated necessary funds. Those two things together might work. However, I really would like to see another requirement implemented before the company can even declare a war. Minimum percentage of influence undermined. So a company that does nothing to undermine or very little won't be able to declare a war. Would be great to have leaderboards and less random. Of course, if it stays like it's now, then this random thingy will annoy all companies who won't be able to participate. After all, they lost money, they wasted time to undermine enemy and they got nothing in the end. Wars will take place in a specific window of time that is set by the defending company. Being able to set this siege window might help defenders a lot, especially to guilds with players covering all time zones. However, with random company chosen to attack, maybe it's smarter just to go with most convenient time for defenders, when their best players are online. So, who and how can participate in PvP wars? Defending settlement's governor can freely choose who he sees fit to defend. It's only logical and no random here. Attackers, on the other hand, will have more fun. With current design, it's perfectly possible that very rich and high enough level Marauder player who owns a company with exactly one member in it wins this lottery and gets to choose who he invites to fight Covenant. What is also funny, he can easily choose to ignore all fellow Marauder players and invite only his friends from Syndicate, as third faction can participate in any war fought by other two on either side. When the time comes for battle, players will be teleported straight to the battlefield. Ones that are online, that is. As far as I know, the rest slots are filled with random players who signed up for this on war boards. Now about the war itself. The attacking army will have 1 hour to breach the walls of the fort and capture its claim, thus taking over ownership of the whole territory for their faction. Before any fort gates can be damaged and breached, the attackers must first capture 3 rally points in front of the fort, and those are juicy spots for defender area of effect attacks. Once captured, they cannot be retaken by the defenders. I like this "what is lost approach, as it adds more tactical choices for both sides. Defenders can focus their fire only to these 3 rally points, while attackers will be forced to take all of them. Maybe it will be better for attackers to divide their forces in attempt to take all 3 points simultaneously. Maybe for defenders it will be best to defend only one of those points and unleash all the ranged damage they got there. Will be very cool to see what works best and which tactics different companies will choose. Rally points can be used by the team as respawn points or to access the armory. Here players can spend battle tokens to acquire siege platforms and build them on the battlefield. Battle tokens are gained by contributing to the battle. And for these tokens players can buy siege weapon ammo and different elixirs. And as I understand, those tokens are gone when war ends, so no need to hoard them. Interesting, will there be a mechanic in place to kick out players that do not participate in combat? The ones that decide to AFK there for reasons that only they know. I surely hope so. Siege weapons won't come at a cost to the defenders, but just how powerful these siege weapons are will be dictated by how they have been upgraded through the territory progression system. So if you want to protect your fort with the strongest siege weapons available, make sure you're doing the required town projects back at your company settlement. Defenders also have siege supplies that are auto-generated during war by siege supply generators. These resources can be used to repair structures including gates, armories, siege supply generators, and siege weapons. Interesting, will repairing gates become a thing in New World during a war to slow enemy down or divide their forces? Once the war has come to its end, players on both sides of the conflict will be teleported off the battlefield so they can continue their adventures in Aeternum. Should the attacking army prevail, they now control the territory and everything in it, and attacking company's governor becomes the governor of this settlement. If done properly, these sieges can be really fun. Siege weapons, probably my favorite part here. We will have some nice and shiny toys to play with. Attackers will be able to choose from cannon platform, with medium rate of fire and the highest damage per hit, fire launcher platform launches a flaming projectile that bursts on impact. Repeater platform, a rapid fire turret that launches bolts at very high speeds. Defenders will have access to ballista, defender's version of the cannon, explosive shot that disrupts and knocks enemies back, repeater turret, functionally the same as attacker's version, fire dropper, pours burning molten liquid down on anyone below, explosive cannon. This will be a fun one. Fires an explosive shot that disrupts and knocks enemies back. It's most effective against groups of infantry and provides area denial. And Horn of Resilience provides a temporary healing and defensive buff to all allies in the area. Both sides can use traps. Inferno Mine. When enemy gets close enough, the Inferno Mine bursts and covers the area in fire. And Powder Keg does the highest damage of any siege weapon, making it extremely effective against gates. I also expect communication to be crucial, but we all know that it's not enough just to communicate, it's very important to listen and to do what is best for your party. And most likely the party with least amount of random players will win. Will be interesting to see how this will play out in beta, and even with some questionable design choices here, I can picture this system actually working quite well. Sadly, if there is more than one company declaring the war, then always someone will be pissed about spending time, effort and money to initiate the war, but not participating in it. And all because of the random lottery. Plus will be interesting to see how many players are too many to coordinate, as this 50-player limit is not limited by technology. Developers said that 100v100 battles could be done easily, but when they tried that, it didn't feel as dynamic and fun as 50v50. It will be very entertaining to follow how PvP will evolve in New World, but it's good to know that we might have bigger battles in future, and honestly, Who wouldn't want to participate in 100 versus 100 fights? Total chaos. Thanks for watching and see you soon.